Assalamu alaikum everybody, this is Ahmad from Coded Up. Today in this video we're gonna have a very interesting topic. We're gonna be talking about Linux users and groups. This is gonna be divided into two parts. This video is gonna be dedicated to monitoring the users and the groups that we already have. Where is this data saved on our machine? And in the next video we're gonna be manipulating these data. So for example, like making just basic CRUD on these users and groups. Okay, so first of all we're gonna have a look at a file that's called let me use just cat, and now we're gonna print all the status or all the properties that our users have on this machine, each user actually. So for this one we need to go etc and this file. So as you can see, a lot of data has been printed right now. We're not gonna look at all these, we'll just need one line because they're all similar. So for that I'm gonna use this bar, which is it actually takes the output of the first command and it sends it as a parameter to the second one. So then I'm gonna use grep, which is it's actually like a text filtration, so it searches for a specific pattern in a text. So as you can see here, the cat command will send the text as an input. Now what's left is just to specify the pattern. So I'm gonna write Ahmad. It's gonna search for Ahmad in each line until it's found. It's just gonna print the lines in which Ahmad exists. So when I hit enter, it only prints one line because in all these kind of stuff you only have one Ahmad, which is here at the bottom. So what actually does this line mean? So let's first let's just break it into parts. The first thing is we have our username. The X here means that our password is encrypted, and usually it's an X because most passwords are encrypted because like no password is left like open. And the next thing we have is our user ID. Each user, as you can see here, we have a lot of users here at the beginning. So like systemd network, like UUIDD, a lot of users. Each user has its own ID. And after that, our user has a primary group. So we're gonna be actually, our default user Ahmad is actually a member of different groups. We're gonna see this now. And by default, this is our main user. Once you create a new user, you get also a default group for it. Okay, so it's actually a specific group for that user. And by default, it's 1000. And this is the group name, our primary group name. This is our home directory. So this is by default. Once we connect our machine, we connect to this directory, which is this one, /home/Ahmad, which is actually the tilde sign. So the tilde sign means the home directory, which is this one. That actually differs. For example, if we look at sudo user, it has a root at home, a home directory of /root. So once we connect to the root user and print the tilde sign, we're gonna get this this path, because this is the root directory. After, so we have /bin/bash. This is the shell that we connect to once we connect our machine. For example, if I open here my main machine's terminal and do the same thing to this file, I have autocomplete here. It prints here for me /user/zsh because I have a different terminal from my machine. I'm using here zsh. Here I'm using bash. Zsh is kind of the same but has more features. So getting back here, this was actually everything for this file. It's just so simple. All these lines are the same. All you have to do is just break it to the blocks using the column sign, and you'll just understand everything. One more look, we're just going to look at the roots user. As you can see, it has a user ID of 0 and a group ID like primary of 0, and it has a group name of roots, and like it's actually kinda the same as the other user. The difference is just the user ID, the group ID, and the group itself, and the username of course. So they're not actually alike. Well, now let's go forward to our next file. Here we have data about the users on our machine. The next is actually we're going to be seeing the data about groups. Okay, so now when I print this, okay, let's first print it without the grep. And as you can see, we have a lot of groups on our machine. Next, we're gonna print the lines in this file that has the Ahmad. Okay, as you can see here, it printed more than one line, not as the other case before. So we're gonna start actually with the line that has Ahmad at the beginning. What does this mean actually? This means this is our group name, and this means our password, our group is encrypted. But this is kind of old because groups don't have password anymore, but they didn't remove it actually, so it's here, but it's actually like useless. And the next thing we have is ID, which is 1000, and actually this is the same ID that we had on our user at the top. So this one. So this is the group ID primary, and as you can see here, I have my name at some groups, but at the end. Why is that? Because after the last column we specify the members of the group. I'm actually not a member of this group because I'm actually kind of like, this is my primary group, and you don't have to be a member of your primary group, you're by default there. Okay, so on the other groups here, I'm specified as a member, and one of the most important groups here is sudo. As you remember, when I use sudo command, I can use this command because I'm a member of the sudo group. If you're not a member, you cannot use sudo. Once we create, for example, new users, by default they cannot use sudo. We're gonna see this actually in the next video. So this is actually all about groups. Now let's go forward to the next file, which is gonna be shadow. Yep, we need sudo for this file because it has kind of secret stuff. Okay. First, let's actually, as I said, just print whole content. And as you can see here, it has a lot of text, as you can see. But we're gonna be looking at my user, my default user. And as you can see here, okay, let's first explain everything on my user and then look at the rest. So here I have my username. The next thing, starting from this $sign till, well, starting from here till the end of the line actually. This is all my password, but it's actually broken kind of into parts. As you can see, we have $signs, this one, and one here. So the digit between the first two $signs indicates the algorithm that has been used to hash our password. So 6 indicates SHA-512, which is a very powerful hashing algorithm. If here we have the value 5, this means this is SHA-256, and if we had 1, this is MD85, which is kind of weak. People don't use it anymore on production usually. And here we have the salt value. What is actually a salt value? It's a value that's added to the password. Like for example, if you have your password, I don't know, like super secret password, like a text, okay, like that says super secret password, we add this hash, we add this what do they call it, like nonsense text, yeah, you add it to this password and you add them together and you get this hash. Okay, so this is actually the hash of my password. If we revert this hash, you can get my password. But since reverting a SHA-512 hash is kind of impossible, so it's so secure now. And now we have some numbers that follows, as you can see. So the first number indicates here the amount of days that has passed since the last time I've changed my password. And by default, it actually counts starting from the 1st of January 1970, which is a lot of time ago. So this is around like 40 years, and this is the amount of days that has to pass so that I can change my password. So since it says to 0, I can change my password like literally every single day. And as you can see, the next value here we have is by the way, right now I'm just explaining, you don't have to remember. I'll just show you words that written in the documentation, so in case you forget it, you can just easily check it. So this 9 is like full of a big number, like 9999. This is the amount of days that should pass until, like, after this amount of days you should like rechange your password, okay, because it kind of gets expired. And once this amount of days pass, if you have 7 days, you'll get warnings that you have to change your password. And here it's not specified, but I'm gonna show you this in the man page. So for that, I'm gonna open a new terminal here. Let me zoom in. And what is the man page? A man page is, in short, it's the manual page of the documentation of how to use a specific command, or how, for example, the content of a file is configured, or like it's just documentation about specific things. So all you have to do is just to type the name of the command or the name of the file. If it has a documentation already, if it has a manual, it will show you. And as you can see here, we're on the file etc shadow. Okay, so let me actually open the manual page of this file. So as you can see here, we have kind of a brief explanation what is this shadow is about. It's just a shadow password file, so it already knows that what are we talking about. And here we kind of have a description, and it tells you that this semicolon separates the fields. We have a lot of like 9 fields. That's kind of a lot. So as you can see here, the first one is the login name, the encrypted password, as I said. So let's just scroll down, until we get to the last parameter. As you can see, the last parameter that I've explained was the password warning period. After that, you can actually, if the password has expired, we're gonna actually changing these values on the next video. For now, I'm just gonna like kind of show you this value on my default user does not exist, but once we create a new user, I believe there will be values there, and we can also monitor them and not monitor, actually manipulate them and change them to other values. Okay, so here what we have more is an activity period. This is actually the amount of days that has to pass. So actually this password in activity period, if you didn't change your password in this period, your actually password get expired, and you'll have to like change it, and you actually need the administrator. By administrator here, we need the root user, which is going to have privilege to do something like this. And after so, if you didn't actually change it for a specific amount of days, your actually a whole account gets expired. And we can also like expire an account and unexpire it using some commands. We're gonna look at this on the next video. And these commands usually require sudo privilege to run them. And the last one is actually a reserved field for future users, but we're not gonna use that. So as you can see, let me close this shell and have a look here. And as you can see here, we have looked at different files, different folders. What I want to now say is, if you want to actually monitor a state of a user, like see what groups that he have, you don't have to do this with this way. I did it like this to just explain where this data is saved and what is the format of this data. Okay, but by default, actually one more thing, as you can see here, we have many users with these star value in the password encrypted password field. Why is that? This actually means that the password is not set, so by default you cannot connect to this user, or before you connect you have to set a password and then you connect. So now back here, now we're gonna have a very important command which is called id, which kind of shows all the data that we have looked at right now. All you have to do is just to specify the username, which is id Ahmad. So as you can see here, it shows me my user ID, it's 1000, and my username is Ahmad, and my primary group ID is called Ahmad, and it has a group ID of 1000. And here it shows me all the groups that I'm part of. As I've already mentioned the sudo group before, so we can kind of make some changes on this output. For example, you can specify U flag to just show the ID, and the M flag to just to show the name, to show the string form of this ID. And maybe we can change this to GN, which is going to print all the groups that we have in the name format. This is actually our primary group. A capital G prints the all groups that we have. And if we remove the N, it's just going to print, as you can see, only the IDs. There's actually some features of the ID command. We're not going to be using it a lot actually, but it helps you just to make a quick, like a quick peek on the account state, or which group does this account belong to. So actually, this is all for this video. On the next video, we're going to be seeing how we can manipulate these states that we have. As you can see, like we have primary groups, we have some supplementary groups, we have IDs. We can just actually manipulate all these values to show you like how this is actually done. And yep, that's all for this video, and see you on the next one.